We're going to talk more now about the HSE's care plan for parents and for families who have suffered the loss of their baby. Its emphasis is on bereavement care and high quality palliative and end of life care for babies and their grieving families. Well, we're joined now by Sarah Nugent from Every Life Counts. That's an organisation which supports parents of babies who were diagnosed with a terminal condition. And her daughter Isabella lived for just 54 days after she was born. Sarah, thanks for taking our call this morning.
Hi, Audrey.
Were you told, Sarah, during your pregnancy that your baby wasn't going to live for very long?
No, I didn't find out that she was sick until after she was born. So, it wouldn't have altered my decision. Like, I would have kind of continued on, and with her.
Sure. Once she was born, the hospital presumably attended to her medical needs. What about your psychological needs? Did you get any help?
No, you're very much dependent, at that time anyway, you're very much dependent on, the kindness of individuals and their willingness to kind of go above and beyond for you and go out of your way. Like, there is no, obviously with the standards in place, things are going to change, but in my experience, there was nobody, there was no kind of system in place to provide any kind of support to you or your family, or, it was very much kind of, which is fair enough, it was very much coming from a medical point of view. But it's obviously, it's an extremely difficult time. Like, Isabella was in hospital for her whole life. So, and as well as being in hospital, she was in an intensive care setting, so it was very difficult even for family to see her. And
what would you have needed, Sarah? What would you have liked the hospital team to have done for you?
I think one of the big things is access from families. Her little brother, or her big brother, eagerly awaited her arrival, and he had to be I had to expect a huge amount from him while she was sick. He just had to put his trust in us that she was sick and he couldn't see her. There was a couple of times where we were able to sneak him in, but it was you had to have the right security guard on duty, you had to have the right nurse on duty, and it was really people going above and beyond and putting their jobs nearly on the line to facilitate you getting a bit of time with her and stuff. Little things like getting to hold her very much depended on the confidence of the nurse who was working with her. All of the things that we have asked for and that have been, the HSC have been so amazing in putting this document together, and the compassion and thought that has gone into it is just fantastic. There's nothing in this document that's really huge or that's really going to take massive money to get up and running or anything like that. It really is just the small little things, like the things that I'm talking about there, tiny little things that are just going to make such a big difference to the overall experience of these little babies' short lives. And
I understand. And after Isabel had passed away, did you receive any contact from the hospital, any follow-up phone calls or support in that sense?
No, there's a bereavement midwife in the hospital. I actually could walk to Portlaoise Hospital from my house. So there was kind of no excuse for me not having any care or contact. The lady she rang me maybe 2 or 3 times after Isabella's passing. And we had done a bit of work in Geneva. And the part of it was, there was a news report on RTE, and the lady in question phoned me to say that she thought it was funny that she had seen me on television and not in person. That she thought it was quite funny that the only way she knew what I looked like was because she'd seen me on television. And I thought I was actually quite upset by it, because I thought, I only live down the road, and this lady was she had been penciled in as my bereavement midwife. But I didn't receive any counselling or any support, no.
And you've said you welcome the guidelines. I just wonder, because many of the stories that I hear and experiences from people who I know who have had miscarriages, and there are 14,000 miscarriages in this country every year, their experience of hospitals is not good. It's very clinical and there's not much psychological support. Do you believe that these guidelines will make a difference, or do they look good on paper, but like many things, will it be difficult to translate into practice?
No, I actually think the way it's written and the way it's laid out, it's left no ambiguity as to what people's roles are in the different scenarios, be it ectopic pregnancy, be it miscarriage, be it stillborn, be it neonatal death. I just think it's just so clear. It's so, for every stage of the process, there's guidelines now there, and the guidelines have just, you can feel the love and compassion and the thought, and they're not just guidelines that have been pulled out of the sky. Like, the research that has gone into them, everything that's gone into them is evidence-based research. I mean, it's consultations with the public, it's consultations with women who've lost babies, it's consultations with frontline staff. Like, I know I spoke to staff that are working on frontline yesterday, and they really welcome these guidelines as well, because it's such a difficult time, and they want to know that they're doing the right thing as well. Like, it's not that the staff aren't, we don't have good staff in our hospitals, and we don't have, good people. It's just the systems weren't in place to kind of allow these things to run properly, and there wasn't any accountability, and nobody knew what they should do at what time. And I think that's been really cleared up by these guidelines.
Okay, well, let's hope so. Sarah, thank you very much indeed. We wish you well. Thank you for taking our call. Sarah